everyone. In this video, I'm going to talk about 3 things that you need to know in order to pass Canadian Constitutional Law course. The first thing I want to talk about is how you should prepare for this course. The second is I'm going to touch on some of the key concepts that you should be aware of. And lastly, I'm going to walk you through a question that I've drafted myself, and we'll go over the question together. So if you're interested, keep watching. The first thing that I want to talk about is how you should prepare for this course. If you take a look at NCA Canadian Constitutional Law syllabus, the syllabus tells us that you will be tested on different types of questions. So you can expect to get a problem question, short essay questions, and then short questions in general. Now, a problem question, and this is what the syllabus says, and this is what the syllabus is telling you, not me. The syllabus is saying that you can expect to get a problem question where you will be given a statute, and that statute can be a fictional statute too. Fictional means that it's not true. It's just a made-up statute, and then the examiner will ask you to assess whether that statute is in line with the Constitutional Act. And if it's not, then what are some of then what happens? So you can expect to get a question like that, and this is, again, it's on your syllabus. Please make sure that you do read the syllabus. And problem questions test you on your ability to identify issues, and then mention the rule, and then apply that rule to the issues, and then come up with a conclusion. So also expect to get short questions like true or false. Please read the syllabus and take a look at the sample exam on the NCA website. And then lastly, you can also expect to get short essay questions. And essay questions test you on your ability to critically analyze. And critical analysis I've mentioned in my other videos. If you haven't seen it, you can watch it. I'll link it over here. So essentially, from my understanding, I believe that you can expect to get more problem questions, and problem questions will test your ability to use IRAC method. So when you are preparing for this course, make sure you understand how to use IRAC, first of all. Secondly, in terms of using IRAC on your exam, the best way to practice IRAC methods is to read judgments of the cases. So when you look at case law and you read a judgment, when you're reading a book, the book is obviously giving you the knowledge about a particular area. If you're reading notes, then obviously that knowledge is not that comprehensive, and it's, when you're making notes, you just use what's important, and so that you're able to look at your notes quickly and you don't have to read a lot. But when you read actual judgments, like actual case judgments, this is where you will learn how the judge applies the reasoning, and then analysis, and then the conclusion. So my advice when you're preparing for this course is read the judgments. Make sure that you practice a lot of problem questions. And the syllabus itself is telling you that you can expect to get a fictional statute, and you will have to analyze. So I'm assuming that you should maybe know how to do that, and maybe you should practice it, because the examiner is pretty much telling you that you can't get that. So why not? Why not just prepare beforehand? So yeah, my advice, the thing I want to talk about is I'm going to touch on some of the key concepts that you should be aware of. Obviously, I'm not going to touch on everything. I just can't do that on a YouTube video. But this is just a very brief overview, and I'm just touching on the basics. You should obviously go into a lot more detail, and I'm assuming you've probably done that by now. So in Canadian constitutional law, you should understand, first of all, the charter. A charter, it is very important for you to analyze different provisions of the charter. Make sure that you understand case law, read the case law. And one of the tips when you're doing charter analysis is that whenever you get a question on the exam and you have to do a charter analysis, even if you think that the statute in question does not violate the charter, you still have to do the section 1 analysis. So even if you think that this particular statute does not violate the charter, you can say that on your exam, but you will just add the sentence at the very bottom saying, I think that that this statute does not violate the charter. However, in the event that the courts decide otherwise, I will move on to the section 1 analysis. It is very important that you do the section 1 analysis because that is what is going to give you, that's what's going to get you marks. So that's my tip. Always do section 1 analysis. The second key concept that you should be aware of are amending procedures. I found amending procedures to be a bit tricky. I don't know if you found that, but I studied a bit of constitutional law when I did the pre-LLM program at Osgood, so I had prior knowledge about it, but make sure that you do understand amending procedures and what each amending procedure is about. Lastly, you want to make sure that you understand different powers of the provincial government and the federal government. In Canada, if you are from a different jurisdiction, maybe it's different there. But I remember when I was studying for constitutional law, it was a bit difficult to understand that some matters are within provincial power, and then some are within federal power. So you have to understand how to do that analysis, who is responsible for what, and there's an analysis that you have to do. It's simple if you get a hang of it. It can be difficult if you don't understand it, but please make sure that you do spend some time understanding how to do that analysis. Now, the last thing is I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share a question that I've written myself, and we'll go over my thought process together. Make sure that you read the question properly. You can pause the video. So yeah, I'm just going to share my screen now.
Is the question that I have drafted myself. These are some of the notes that I have, and I'm going to go over these notes with you. So first of all, whenever you get a question which is asking you for true or false, you want to, first of all, in the first paragraph, tell the examiner what do you think the answer is. So is the answer true or is the answer false? And then you want to state a brief reasoning as to why you think that the answer is true or false. Now, I think that the answer is false because I believe that these two cases are two conflicting decisions. Okay? So, the two cases deal with the same issue, which is charter application to hospitals, which means that they both are dealing with the same issue, but the principle is very different. So, principle means what did the cases decide? So in Eldridge, this case decided that when is a charter applicable. So the charter was applicable in this case, and they talk about situations where charter is applicable. And in the other one, which is Stoffman, they talk about situations where charter is not applicable. So I wouldn't think that these two cases talk about the same principle because, again, they are two conflicting decisions. One talks about a situation where charter is applicable, while the other talks about a situation where the charter is not applicable to hospitals. So I wouldn't think that this statement is true. I wouldn't think that this statement is partially true. I would just think that this statement is false. If you want, you could also talk a bit about how these two cases deal with the same issue, and you could state what the issue is. But again, the principle I believe is different. So when you're answering this type of question on an exam, in the first paragraph, always mention if you think that the statement is true or false, and provide a brief reasoning as to why you think that. Then you could go on into the second paragraph. You could talk about how these two cases deal with a similar issue. However, the principle is very different. And then you could talk about the first case over here, and you want to go into more detail than I have. You want to talk about the facts, what the principle was, and then you're going to do the same thing for Stoffman, and then Once you do that, you will, in the last paragraph, just do the analysis and tell the examiner that, hey, both cases have very different principles, because in one case, charter was applicable because of XYZ reasoning. And then in the other case, the charter was not applicable because of XYZ reasoning. So, if you are interested in looking at more sample questions and answers, I have recently launched my website, which is lawstudykit.com. This is one of the questions I have in there. If you are looking for additional help, feel free to check it out.
I hope this was helpful. If you liked it, please subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. If you are looking for additional help, you can take a look at my website, which is lawstudykit.com. If not, feel free to browse my channel, and good luck on your exam.